I slit the sheet I slit, upon the slitted sheet I sit. Hello and welcome to another Team Talk with Mac and Cheese Media. Today, we're talking about our 48-hour film project, Bread-Handed.
Bread-Handed is the story of a secret agent who has to go undercover at a restaurant to figure out what the secret ingredient is in a dangerous sandwich being served to the president's best friend.
Bread-Handed is now on the Mac and Cheese YouTube page.
We need our top agent to find out what the G stands for in order to ensure the safety of the president's best friend. Give him the call.
I'm in.
And if you don't know what a 48-hour film project is, you get 48 hours to make a movie. The night starts, you get a genre, a character, a prop, and a line of dialogue. So for us, we got spy espionage or drama, the character Frank or Frankie Coolfont, who's a truck driver. The line of dialogue, they ask a lot of questions, and the prop was a recycling bin. What do you guys remember from that process of kind of trying to come up with the idea and how we do things for our 48?
Yeah, so one thing that stood out to me was at the Kickoff event, they were talking about the statistics of the 48 this year in Nashville. And they said that this was actually the biggest year for Nashville for the 48. They had 60 teams enter. And they said it was the third largest city in the country for the 48.
Watch out, Hollywood.
Yeah, really.
How do you know that Hollywood was one of them?
Because it was number one.
Was it? I'm assuming.
Well, Los Angeles, I guess. I don't know.
The first night, kind of the kickoff, I remember being fairly normal and uneventful, except for things ended like an hour early, but they couldn't technically by the rules give us the stuff yet. So we went to, did we go to Walgreens to get
Yeah.
We got
got some drinks.
we got drinks at Walgreens.
Took everyone's drink order and went out, yeah.
So we actually were lucky because it was being held, the drawing of the genres, right next door.
Yep.
So we got to go walk over, get that, come back to our studio, and just get working right away. And kind of our process is that we have everyone in the room get together and start pitching out random ideas for both drama, spy espionage. We get little sticky notes, hand them out, write an idea, maybe just a name. Sometimes there's joke ones that don't make it. We actually got Agent 8008 from a joke one and took it from that. And we're like, you know what, we'll stick it, we'll make it in Bread-Handed.
I kind of always go into those things feeling uncreative. I always start off feeling like, oh, I have no good ideas. I'm not good at coming up with story ideas. I'm gonna let everyone else handle this. But then once I write a few of the really garbage ones I have down on sticky notes, I start to I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I got an idea. Wait a minute, here we go, And then finally seeing my ideas up on the board with everyone else's and no one's making fun of them is kind of empowering in a way, I guess.
We're not gonna make fun of them unless they're bad, then we might.
Yeah.
I went into the kickoff also kind of feeling a little bit uncreative. As soon as they said that we drew spy and espionage and drama, but when we drew spy and espionage, I was like, hang on a second. This could be cool, right? So I immediately started having ideas for themes and stuff, like spy themes. And then when we finally settled on that idea, I had the idea okay, I'm gonna try to write a Bond song kind of thing with the line of dialogue. And I'm like, all right, y'all, I'm checking out. I'm going back to my place because that's where I got all my music gear and instruments and everything. So I made a playlist for the ride home that was a bunch of just spy music. It was Bond score, Bond songs, stuff from the Cars 2 soundtrack, which is criminally underrated. And just listened to that for inspiration, went home, started cooking. You guys kept doing all the ideation stuff, coming up with the story itself. But
it was pretty amazing too, because we only had known Noah for 2 weeks, maybe a month. Barely. I don't even think so. I'd moved to Nashville recently. He was like, oh yeah, I could probably do the score. And we're like, don't really know what this guy's capable of, but let's see. And then have maybe written the first 2 lines of the script. And he sends us a text like, hey, check this out. Here's a rough of the intro. And it's him singing and playing it. And I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah. They ask a lot of questions, but he never can explain.
You don't even know, you sent that, and the people who were left here, we were kind of in a rut trying to figure out if it was going to be the president or the president's best friend or someone else, and it was kind of disagreements were happening. And then you sent that, and it was this unifying, oh yeah, this is great.
It was literally me playing block chords on the piano, singing a rough melody.
Whenever we do 48s, normally my process with teams in the past is, all right, I'm just going to start writing. and like maybe some of the ideas aren't there yet, all the full plot points, but I'm just gonna start writing and start going and coming up with stuff on the spot. And then once I finish the section, go back, revise. What makes sense? Okay, I have to fit in the line of dialogue somewhere where we're gonna do it. Luckily, it was in the intro with the song, so that was great. But then it's like, oh, where are we gonna have this prop? And then our use of prop is probably, I think, one of the best use of props I love. And I'm just writing, like, how are we gonna get rid of this secret ingredient? And then came to me, I was like, here we go. But it's fun because I'm just writing away, and it's probably 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and I finish it and I send it out to everyone who's hopefully sleeping by now for the next day to get ready to go. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try to show up around like 9 o'clock in the morning, get some good sleep. And I read it in bed. I'm like, okay, I'll change this in the morning. And then the next morning I wake up and I'm like, I hope I wrote something good. I don't remember exactly everything. And I go and look at it. I'm like, oh, that's pretty fun.
I've done 2 48s with Andy, and both times there's this magical Saturday morning feeling where you wake up, you have something to read, and I wake up and read it, and I can like see it, and I'm like, there's the day. Let's go. Let's shoot.
Yeah, it was helpful for me too because I'm trying to write score to something that doesn't yet exist. So having that outline and being like, okay, we need something for this scene, this scene, this scene, just kind of coming up with general kind of, I guess, vibes, but at least get like a feeling going on for every scene that we need to do.
So what would you say are some of your guys' favorite moments from the shoot?
I really enjoyed the fight choreography. Just watching that happen, watching the rag doll that they made for Caroline to get thrown against a garage door. But I was really impressed with how all that turned out because, again, I'm like in my little hole doing my thing, and then I'm like, hey, we need help recording some audio. I'm like, okay, so I'm like holding a boom. And all of a sudden I'm just watching Alex and Caroline have a straight up fight in a parking lot. I'm like, this is sick.
One thing that's challenging about those rag dolls is you want it to look fake, but you want it to somewhat function that you could maybe believe that someone thought they would get away with it, but it still has to be obvious that, okay, this is a terrible stunt. But then her hitting the wall and falling and landing perfectly, it was so
Gets
good.
me every
It worked
time.
out so well. How about you, Carter?
I would have to say the sandwich cam, which is kind of the iconic moment coming out of Bread Handed. Aside from the score, sorry, don't want to overshadow here.
Of course.
But we were about to go to the kitchen location, and we knew that we wanted kind of the camera right by the sandwich flying through the air for kind of the final confrontation, and we hadn't really thought it out yet. And we were like literally walking out the door. Door was open, people were loading into cars, and we were like talking about everything we needed, and someone mentioned the sandwich cam, and Sean was like, why didn't you tell me sooner? Runs upstairs to the gear room, puts together a rig in like 5 minutes. And it's like camera, base plate, and then like 2 poles coming out, and then like duct taped a plate on it or something like that for the sandwich to sit on. And it worked wonderfully.
We knew that Sean could figure it out no matter
Sean
what it
always
was.
figures it out.
I think my favorite part, and I know I'm part of it because I was in it, it's pretty fun, was the transitions with the wig, the disguise kit. Because we talked about like, oh, that's gonna be fun, that's gonna be a funny thing, but they just worked so well. And we thought, it might need to do some masking and the editing, but like the way we lined up, flipping the hair past the camera and me going, and Caroline just perfectly lining up, both then and taking off the shirt was perfect. Luckily, when I'm on Alex's back for the fight scene, that one cuts away. It doesn't need to be a perfect thing, but all those transitions are so much
magic.
fun, and they just worked out great. All right, so what were some of the challenges that you guys faced, that we all faced during the 48?
Yeah, so during editing, it was interesting, Carter's sitting there working on a cut, and again, I don't have anything really yet. So it finally got to the point where he had a rough cut that he could send me of the whole thing. I just load that into Logic and kind of go for it. But then periodically, as he adjusts the cut, everything gets shifted around, like, whether it be a couple of frames or like a good couple of seconds, right? Now I gotta like readjust things that I've already done while I'm already trying to think of other things for this thing, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just, but it's part of it. That's the nature of how this thing works, this 48-hour film project. We don't have the luxury of crazy budgets and everything else and timeline and, being able to plan that stuff out. So it's just how it is. But yeah, it's challenging, but it's also fun.
This wasn't an abnormal challenge, kind of like you're saying, part of it expected, but man, the editing is a marathon. I didn't start until we were kind of filming the last couple of scenes, and I could kind of step away and start cutting, and I worked on the first cut until I think 5 a.m. and felt really good about it. I wasn't even that tired, but I went to sleep. and slept for like 3 hours.
And didn't James take over for a little bit while you were sleeping?
Yeah, James did start editing while I was sleeping, which also adds to the confusion of like, it took me so long to kind of reorient myself with what was going on in the edit. It took me an hour and a half to get back on my feet and get cooking again. And I don't know, that was a challenge. And I think in the future, I want to avoid that by just running the whole night. Like start editing Saturday night and then just go until we deliver and then crash.
I think for all the 48s we've done, we've had the most success when we have, and usually it might not be like the lead editor, but someone does a rough cut through the night. Like get it all, and you have like a basic rough cut, because then you're like ready to, because that's like the details are what make the movie and like make things so fun. I think the biggest challenge for me was probably just the fatigue towards the end. I think we had just shot the sandwich scene in like a little bar kind of setup that like Carolina had got us a location. And I had to be there because we didn't have many extras. So I have a wig on in that scene. Just a back, you see my back and you have no idea it's me, but hey, that's me right there in that shot. After that, I came back a little bit early while they were finishing that up and started kind of setting up for the guru scene. The gadget guru is what we called Carter's character, who gives me all the gadgets. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. We're just using this studio. This looks dumb. I'm getting tired. We get back. We're doing the scene together. We have solo energy. And we're trying to do it, which I think editing saved that scene. Yep. And then by that time, it's like probably 11:30. And I'm like, oh, we still got to do that laser scene. We still got to do the explosion outside. And I'm setting up the explosion with Alex. I'm like, this is dumb. Does this look good? I don't care if it looks good. This is stupid. And it's just like the whole thing of you need a team that is collaborative. Because, I mean, I wish I could be like, I'm talent. I'm not touching anything. But it's not going to get done unless you're moving nonstop. Mm-hmm. And we had a team that, like, we could be A team and B team. And I think with the lasers, you and Caroline were doing it. And the final explosion thing was me, Alex, and James outside doing it. But it was just like being so exhausted there, knowing we have these more scenes, we need to get it done so we can get started, was probably like the biggest challenge for me. But I think it all paid off because
it all came together. It
was a lot of fun. Just real quick, just the premiere and how that went. Why don't you guys say something real quick about what you thought about it?
Well, it went a lot better than we were expecting, because what we always do is we do like a safety export about an hour before the due time.
So that something is turned in, because if you don't turn it in time, you're late. If you're late, you're not up for all the awards. So that's why we did that.
Yeah. So we exported that, and we didn't end up getting the more polished version in on time. It was like a minute or two late. It's like so close, so frustrating. But so we watched what we had submitted and realized that all of the music I made was way too loud, because I just, was trying to make it good, healthy level. It was just put it in, didn't check where it was, submitted it, right? So most of the dialogue was just covered. You couldn't really hear it on the laptop speakers, so we were all feeling pretty defeated. But then when it came time for the premiere, the music was still loud. It was too loud. But you could understand the dialogue more. And
can you believe it sounded better in a theater than like laptop speakers?
I know, really.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. But the audience loved it. I mean, the reaction was hilarious.
Having like 2 weeks from turning in the film to the premiere, where you kind of have this dread of like, I just know the music's too loud. I know it's missing all these things we wanted. I'm sad, and then every time I think about it, I'd kind of dread the premiere. And then we got there, and it started playing, and the music wasn't too loud, and people were loving it. And it's like this sense of relief and also like pride in your work kind of washes over you, and you're like, yeah, we made a movie in 48 hours, and people like it, and it just feels really good.
Just getting to see everyone worked so hard that weekend, and we got to see a quarter of the films in our group, but we got to see some more through some friends and stuff. But seeing all the hard work that everyone put in and like making it happen, it's like it's crazy what people can do in 48 hours. We ended up, I think one of my favorite things is that we won the Audience Choice Award for our group. So like that's where the audience votes on it. And we got that. That was huge. We won title sequence. Best score. Noah, of course, that was guaranteed. Here's a video of him winning it. We were so proud of our little boy.
That is my favorite award we won. I tell everyone, award-winning composer right here.
Yeah. He does say that like daily.
Yeah.
We had so much fun on it, and you know what? If you're interested in doing the 48, I think it's so much fun. It's a great crash course for people who are looking to get into the industry and figure out what it's all about. You just need a good group of friends, and you need some energy.
Yeah, it's a good crash course on being stressed and tired, but having a blast.
A lot of fun. So thank you guys so much for listening to this Team Talk. We'll see you in the next one.